So we've covered railroads and why you shouldn't do them before.
Yep.
So how would you be able to give your players options and then have consequences when they don't do something or
Yeah.
things like that?
So one of the things you can do. So first, let's just cover a couple terms in case someone doesn't know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
A railroad is when you are making your players sit through a story that you're telling, and they're forcibly being participatory in. Think of it like a book that we're going to play Lord of the Rings, and we're going to play every line of Lord of the Rings. There's really even no point in you rolling dice, because at a certain point, somebody's going to have to get thrown over this thing, and there's no choice, right? There's no free will in a railroad. So we want to avoid those at all costs. We also don't want to overplan so that we feel like we can then just micromanage them to death. And we don't want to underplan so we feel like we have nothing to do. So, okay. Options, what I like about this is simply this. What I like to do is, and I do this a lot in mystery games. We're going to cover mystery games in the next episode. But what I like to do in a mystery game is basically they find clues, and those clues now are their options. That's the easiest way to explain it. So let's just talk about a Scooby-Doo mystery, because I think everybody's seen Scooby-Doo. If you haven't seen Scooby-Doo, go watch Scooby-Doo. It's really fun. Be 10 again and go watch Scooby-Doo. So they're on Netflix. They're fun. Anyway, so in a Scooby-Doo mystery, they show up in a town for whatever reason, and then they find, basically this is like the old ones, and then there's some sort of ghost haunting the thing, a house, amusement park, whatever. Fill in some cool place we can all have you know, adventures in. So there's a ghost in the amusement park that's stopping this really nice guy from opening the amusement park, and the gang's all here, so we're going to go do a mystery. So they go to the amusement park that's haunted, they see the ghost, and they run around, but while they're running around, they might find some like glow-in-the-dark paint. They might find they find out that the owner is in a lot of debt. They find an insurance policy that says, like, if the guy can't open the park because of, you know, he's got the ghost insurance policy. Like, don't ask how that is. And so if there are ghosts haunting the amusement park, I mean, I swear to God, this is probably one of the Scooby-Doos. He will get paid to not open the amusement park, and he realizes if I don't get paid to open the amusement park, I get paid more money than if I try to open the amusement park because I got no overhead. I don't have to pay anybody. I don't have to have food. I don't have to turn on the electricity. This is great. So Old Man Withers or whatever decided to dress up like a ghost, put the glow-in-the-dark paint on himself.
With the projector.
With the projectors, and use Pepper's Ghost, which is a really fun effect. If you don't know what it is, go look it up on Google.
And smoke and mirrors.
And all this stuff. And he started like freaking everybody out. And then now he's going to get ready to collect the insurance if it wasn't for these meddling kids. Okay. So what you have there in a railroad scenario, it'd be like, y'all go into the fun house. I had no choice to go in the fun house. You see the ghost. What do? It doesn't matter. I'll tell you what you're doing. You know,
you're like, running away.
You're running away. It's like, oh my God, just let me play my guy. But in this case, it's like he found phosphorus paint. You know, sorry, I don't know what I'm trying to say there. You're finding glow-in-the-dark paint. You're finding other things, and you don't want to just find those three things, right?
No.
So you would find, like, there'd be 5 or 6 people that are being implicated. The janitor has a beef, and you find out about the janitor's beef with the owner, so he could be doing it because he hates the owner. You find out that the daughter of the owner wants to sell the amusement park, and maybe that's her motive for, like, maybe she wants to shut it all down so that she can talk her father into leaving and just getting it sold, right? All these things. You're going to have a whole cast of characters, and each one's going to have their own little motives and whatever. And as they're going through it, they're going to find pieces of information that are going to lead them to one thing or the other. Now, that's how you create an option-filled campaign. Now, how do you do it in a way that's more suspenseful? I think this is the key. So, let's say in that scenario, the Scooby-Doo scenario, which is never in a Scooby-Doo, by the way, this part of it, the daughter is leaving to go to college, and she has some vital information that you think she knows. And if you could just roll some good diplomacies, get some good information out of her, maybe intimidate her a little bit, maybe you got a seducer in the party. I don't know what you're playing. But you have some way of getting info out of her. But you know that her train or her plane or her car, or let's go
Leaves
back
at
in the
X.
or in the back of the, way back, her caravan or something. Like
Mm-hmm.
she is leaving town for some reason and will not be back for months.
Yes.
And it's leaving, whatever mode of transportation she's taking is leaving at a very specific time, and you got like 3 hours figured out.
Mm-hmm.
At the exact same time, though, there's this old building on the side of the town, and it's slated to get destroyed about 2 hours before she leaves.
Mm-hmm.
If you go there, because of where it's located and where she's leaving from, your party only has a chance to either search the abandoned building, which you think holds some clues to what the janitor's been doing, because he's been holed up there. You found out the janitor's been squatting in this building, and the janitor might be the shifty guy. So there might be some really good clues from the janitor in that building.
Yes.
But that building's getting destroyed by its owner tonight at 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the other side of town. You don't have the ability, the magical or other sort of means, to get across town or wherever fast enough to do both the building and investigate her fully.
Yes. Now the thing
What do you do?
Now the thing that you want to make sure that they can do is, no matter what they choose, they still have the ability to figure it out.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just might be easier or harder on what they chose.
Right.
You don't want them to go, well, you chose the wrong one
And you're done.
3 hours ago, so I guess you fail.
Well, and in this scenario, it's actually a really good point. So here's the deal. You find out, if you go to the building, you find out that the janitor is squatting there and he has a beef, but he's been let's say he's been secretly poisoning the guy's food. Not in a way that would kill him, but in a way that just makes him ill.
Mm-hmm.
It's like every Friday night the guy complains of stomach problems. And this is the janitor messing with him.
Mm-hmm.
This is how the janitor's getting back. So he's not the guy. So if you don't go explore the building, you never find out why, and your players probably will never remember why the owner was having stomach problems every Friday night.
Yes.
You just don't ever figure it out. Okay, cool. Doesn't matter. If you don't go and talk to the girl, you find out, you find out, you can erase her as a suspect, because you find out, like, when talking to her, she just wants the place sold.
Mm-hmm.
And she has no idea about the ghost. And then, let's say that you don't go talk to her. Well, a day or two later, you see the ghost again. So you're like, oh, it's not her.
Yes.
Right? Or at least she's not directly involved. She could be paying somebody to do it,
Yes.
but she's not directly involved. So
She's not there.
100%, if you're going to do these time-based options, they might be really good clues to really quickly get rid of somebody from a suspect so that they're not spending other time, other options later trying to figure it out. But you definitely don't want to have, like, the most critical clue you've ever needed sitting in the most time-sensitive place. In fact, this is actually why I really love Pelgrane Press, Kenneth Haidt, and Robin D. Law's stuff. I've talked about their podcast before. It's Ken and Robin talk about stuff. It's really good. When they talk about gaming stuff. Some of the other stuff I just don't care about. But I love their gaming stuff. But one of the things that they dealt with is Kenneth Haidt got really tired of running a Shadowrun game, which is kind of like, I guess it's futuristic D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's basically Ocean's 11 meets D&D meets 2090 is the easiest way to put it. So the point with it is that there's certain things that happen where if you messed it up, like your entire heist was over.
Yes.
So think about Ocean's 11 for a second. If they didn't have an extra set of batteries, they couldn't blow the door on the other side.
And then they're done for.
That's over, right? Like, just pack up your crap and go home, and now you've wasted months, and this whole movie's really kind of lame. It's like, oh, right, we got there, and 2 AA batteries stopped you from getting... Really?
Yep.
Like, no one had other... Okay, wow.
And the
Cool.
problem that he had with...
And then the Asian guy goes to jail because he's sitting on the wrong side of the
And probably implicates the rest of them for a little lower sentence.
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. Yeah, totally. He's like, I don't even speak English. I don't owe these guys anything. I'm gonna just totally turn them all in and not go to jail.
Yeah.
And so, like, they just put me in because I was small. And then if you watch the movie, that's literally the only reason he's there.
Small and acrobatic.
He was small and he could fold himself up. I mean,
And acrobatic enough to dance around the lasers.
Exactly. Like, his role was pivotal, but not because of storyline.
Nope.
So the point is, on that whole thing, you don't want batteries to ruin your entire campaign.
Yes.
And that's what would happen in a Shadowrun campaign. You'd roll out your skill and it'd be like, I got a 3. And it's like, you can't open the door.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, everyone looks at each other really uncomfortably for like
how do
10
we
minutes.
get through this then?
Right, because some GMs aren't versatile enough to just pivot with it and move on.
And the problem with GURP, Shadowrun was because of how you're designing your whole entire thing of grabbing the schematics and the blueprints.
Oh, man,
Hours of planning for 1 to 2 dice rolls, throwing everything off.
Okay, so the reason I like Pelgrane Press's stuff so much is because he had all those bad experiences with Shadowrun and probably also with D&D as well, is they decided to come up with a different way of doing skills. I don't care about how that works. What I'm going to tell you is simply this. If you don't have a system where 1 dot or 1 skill is automatic success for basic stuff, which is like 98% of the campaigns and and like all the RPGs out there, what I suggest you do is you make the DC, the dice check, the skill check, whatever it is called in your game, so low that one of your players has to get it. And so what do I mean by that? Okay, it's Vampire the Masquerade. You know that your guy's going to roll 9 dice. Okay, you're like, okay, I'm going to make it. I'm just going to tell him, roll the dice and be like, tell me what your numbers are. And in Vampire the Masquerade, most of the time it's a skill of 7 or above, or a 6 or above to get a success. I would drop that sucker to 3. Like, I need you to get this clue. Like, and because you're looking for it, I can kind of fudge it up and be like, oh, okay, yeah. And I don't have to tell them how many successes they got. I don't have to do any of that. I'm like, what? Let me see your numbers. You look at the numbers. You're like, okay, so here's what you know. Just don't just cut through it. Like, well, how many successes did I get? It's like, do you want to know what you know or not? Like, yeah. Because I need you to know it, right? So as long as they don't botch, you're fine. In D&D, I make the skill set like a 5.
I was going to say the thing like, that would help with D&D
is you roll 1 on a skill, you add 1 to your base, and so it's like I'd still make it like a 5. I make it so stupid simple that the player that needs to get it gets it, so that I can at least get it forward, right? Everybody make a spot check. Oh, cool. You see, and just grab the guy with the highest. Doesn't matter. Then they think they won. It doesn't matter who would have done it. If they all would have rolled a 4. You'd been like, okay, you see, like, because you're an elf, so you get bonuses.
Yes.
Like, we don't care why you saw it. But the thing is, critical pieces of information have to be seen and figured out.
Yes.
And so what I would do, if you're doing all these crazy options just to prevent a railroad, there's still going to be a handful of things that the players need to know.
Yes.
Do they need to know the bad guy's name? Why? They need to know the bad guy's name because that gives them a piece of information they can take to so-and-so, and that person's going to give them enough information to know where their hideout is. It's cool. They have to get the guy's name then.
It's a balance because having no structure causes a sandbox where it's not fun for anybody because there's nothing for you to do.
What's the storyline of Minecraft? I mean, I know there's kind of a storyline, but my whole point is like, I'm not coming to play Minecraft, right? Or some of these other things where it's just like, we're just surviving today. No, I showed up to play an RPG game where I'm a vampire in modern day America and we're doing something.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I mean, even the DMs that just go grab a random dungeon and throw you through it. There's still structure. You're going through the dungeon.
Right. Got to get through the dungeon. Right.
That's your structure.
Getting crap and getting out. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So if that one's a lot easier, you don't care about that. But if they missed like somehow, let's say the main door is secret, which would be weird, but let's say it is.
Tomb of Horrors was that way.
The real boss in Tomb of Horrors is behind a secret door. They never found him.
Nope, because we're all dead at that time. So we're like, no, we're out of here.
Everybody's dead. It's like, we killed the guy. Let's go. It's so good. It's like, he's not even the main guy. You want to search the room? We're not searching the room. I'm like, okay, I guess you're not searching the room. But if I'd been a better DM, I would have been like, you're an elf. You see a secret door. Yeah. And
I think the elf died because it was just the druid and the sorcerer who survived because everybody else failed their will on the skull.
Everybody dies. That stupid Tomb of Horrors. Point is, and we'll end with this, if you're going to do options, and you should, you need to make sure that anything that's 100% critical that your players find is findable no matter what they do. And so, yes, that may be railroady, but make it feel like it wasn't. But the rest of it you can have
open,
branch out.
They need this information, otherwise it doesn't work. So you need to give it to them in a way that makes sense.
And to be fair, what you want to do is like you'll start with one thing, so you have your hook. that branches into 3. These 3 might branch into 2 or one other thing. And then eventually you're going to kind of go out, and then you're going to come back in, whatever that is. And that's the thing you have to remember. It's like a tree. It's actually like a tree to a certain degree, kind of. So you start with the trunk, you go to the branches, and then the branches come back into a trunk, and you're done. Like, it's kind of like this weird, I don't know how to describe it that way, but you start out narrow, you go wide, you come back narrow, and then you conclude. And if you want to have a hook or a cliffhanger to go to the next thing that's going to then branch out, that's what you do. You just can string, narrow, broad, narrow, broad, narrow, broad. You can keep doing that for years or decades, as some people have done. So that's it. We will talk to you next week.